What's up, airplane collectors? Welcome to Model Airplane Review. It's your host, Ray. In today's video, I'll be reviewing the Gemini Jet's 1:400 scale Azul Airlines Airbus A321NEO. This model was released in the April and May release set, and I picked this one up at the Chicago Airline Collectible Show, and here it is. In this video, I'll talk about the box, then the model itself, and at the end of the video, I'll give my personal opinion about what I think of the model and whether or not I recommend it to other collectors. That being said, let's get the review started. The box is the standard issue Gemini Jets box at 15 centimeters lengthwise and height-wise, and 4.5 centimeters wide. I'll show around the box now. So here's the front, bottom, right side, top, left side, and here's the back side. This box features a flap that allows the collector to see the model in the box. Under this flap is a bit of information about the A320 family and specific information about this aircraft. Take a moment to read this if you'd like to. Once you open up the box, you get the aircraft fully assembled, painted, and ready to go. Before I begin my review, I'm going to give you a quick 360 of the model. The fuselage length for this model is 11.5 centimeters, the wingspan is 9 centimeters, and it's about 3 centimeters tall, accurate to 1:400 scale and relatively small. This aircraft is made primarily out of die-cast metal, so it is also pretty heavy for its size. Starting up the review at the front of the aircraft, I'd like to talk about the nose shape. Nose shape on this model really isn't the best, and that's been an issue with this mold for years now. The nose shape isn't really the best. It's a little bit too round, and the curves aren't as defined as they should be, and it's kind of stretched out a little bit. But it's not the end of the world. The nose shape is still, I guess, acceptable. And something that I've also noticed is that the cockpit windows appear to be crunched or slanted downwards. I'll determine the exact shape later in the video when I evaluate the aircraft from the front, but the cockpit window printing definitely doesn't look too hot, so I'm kind of scared to see what that's going to turn out to later. As for the rest of the fuselage, though, everything looks pretty good. Here we have the aircraft's name. I have no idea what that is, and I'm not going to try and read it and pronounce that. I don't want to butcher that. But as we move down the fuselage, everything seems okay. Here there is a bit of inconsistency with the alignment of the green and yellow paint. That's a very small imperfection. You can barely see it. You can kind of see right here there's a defined curve or difference in the curve here. And that's just different layers of the yellow and green paint being applied. And on the other side, there's also something I'd like to show you about that. But so far, that's a very small imperfection that I really won't complain too much about. The rest of the fuselage looks pretty good. Overall delivery looks good, and the application of paint and printed details looks pretty solid. Here's the vertical stabilizer. Shape looks good, and printed detail looks pretty good as well. The giant Azul title looks good and aligned, so I won't complain here. Pretty solid up here. If only the same could be said about the right side, you can definitely see that the Azul logo is very much tilted to the left of your screen, which is very surprising. Gemini doesn't usually have issues like this. Either this is an issue specific to my model, or this could be an issue from the whole production line, which is scary to think about. I seriously hope this is isolated to just my model. But yeah, the tilt here is pretty noticeable. That's kind of upsetting to see. The right side of the fuselage is virtually the same as the left side, so I won't provide much commentary, and I'm getting my fingers all in the way. Sorry about that. However, here's what I wanted to show you. You can see a difference in the yellow color here. And you couldn't see this on the left side, but you can see this a bit more clearly on the right side. There's also a bit of a dark patch right here, which shows that paint application wasn't too consistent. You can also see it here on the rear section here. So yeah, definitely not the best paint application, but I won't complain too much either because there's not very much I can do to fix that issue either. Rest of the fuselage looks solid except for that nose shape. And you can see on the right side the cockpit windows look like they're crunched and slanted, so I'm pretty sure that's what the issue is. Moving on to the wings, here's the top of the left wing. Overall, looks pretty good here with plenty of painted, printed, and molded detail. Something I'd like to comment about on the painted detail is the light gray paint here was not applied in a sufficient amount to cover the metal. There you can see the gray outlines from the darker metal underneath the paint, which that's something pretty small, but it's something that I've never seen on a Gemini or JC model, so it is kind of surprising to say the least. The bottoms of the wings don't have as much detail, but the aircraft's registration is on the bottom of both wings. On the bottom of the right wing, we have the PR and the dash, and on the bottom of the left wing, we have the YJE, which looks pretty good. Alignment seems good, and Printing looks good as well. I don't notice anything out of the ordinary there. Now, the sharklets is a topic that I'd like to discuss a bit more in depth than everything else. The sharklets are interestingly shaped because they are definitely a bit pointier than on previous releases. And sometimes Gemini does mess up the shape, but I've never seen them messed up to this degree. Usually they do have the correct curve and flat end at the top here, but on this example, I guess they just went all the way and just did it until there was a point, which is rather weird. And this is the same situation on the right sharklet too. So yeah, the shape on this was rather interesting. On the inside of the winglet, we have the sharklet, we have the Azul logo, which looks pretty solid. It's very small, so I really can't see that much either, so I'm just going to hope that it's done well. I just noticed a few scratches on the bottom of the left wing here. Very small, but still something that I noticed. Moving to the rear section of the aircraft, here we can catch a break from a few issues. I don't really notice anything out of the ordinary here, except for, never mind, there's a stain on the right horizontal stabilizer. But aside from that, everything looks pretty good. Printed detail looks solid, and the bottom of the aircraft here looks pretty good as well. So I won't complain too much, but yeah, there are definitely a few dings, nicks, and stains on this model, which is not exactly unusual for Gemini, but still displeasing to see nonetheless. Moving on to the vacuum cleaners, the engines. The engines on this model are oversized, as has been the issue with this mold for years at this point. Detailing looks pretty decent on the engines. On this one, the exhaust nozzle looks either it's bent upwards or the cowling itself, or not the cowling, but yeah, the whole engine itself is bent slightly upwards. I can't really tell what it is. I'm pretty sure it's that exhaust nozzle though, but that's a small alignment issue. And compared to what else Gemini has put out there, I won't complain too much. Here are the fan blades. These look pretty decent. Right side is not as fortunate, however. The engine, on top of being bent upwards, the exhaust nozzle is bent pretty far downwards, so it just only amplifies that effect to a greater degree, so that's kind of upsetting to see. Bottoms of the engines are decently detailed with a set of printed detail under there, so at least it has that going for it. But yeah, the engines of this model aren't really too hot. Moving on to aerial features, this aircraft features 3 antennas, no sat domes or anything else, and these 3 antennas are all at the top of the aircraft. We have 2 large antennas at the front and middle to rear section of the fuselage, and at the rear section of the fuselage we have a very small antenna. These are okay, they're sized nicely, their application looks good. I haven't seen any examples with loose antennas, so they're pretty solid. In terms of alignment though, I did notice something here with this printed sat dome. It is off to the right side of the aircraft, and while some aircraft do have sat domes and communication domes offset to one side of the aircraft, I'm not sure if that's the case with this one. So if you know better, please comment down below so other collectors can be informed on this. Here's the bottom of the aircraft. Down here we have a pretty good selection of printed detail actually, and I don't notice any issues with paint alignment down here, which is pleasant to see, so I won't complain too much. But yeah, take a moment to look down here. I don't really notice any issues, and yeah, it looks pretty solid. Moving on to the landing gear. The landing gear on this aircraft, they're all right. They're okay, I lied. What the hell just happened? Holy cow. So this gap here is accurate to the A320 family landing gear. However, on the left main gear, this gap is almost completely full. It looks like flash from a plastic model. And well, it's not almost completely like filled, but yeah, there's a substantial amount of debris in there, and yeah, that's kind of upsetting to see. And same deal with the right one, go figure. Okay, so yeah, that something fishy happened with the landing gear there. Nose gear looks okay, it's not the best, it's not the worst, and there's a stain of some sort. Okay, never mind, that was just a piece of dust. But yeah, the rims on this one are painted white, which is a new thing for Gemini. I haven't seen that recently, but it's there. And yeah, landing gears, they roll rather roughly, but they still roll, so I guess I'll give them that. All right, sorry about that. That is one angry aircraft. Wow. All right, so wing flex looks good. The landing gear symmetry looks pretty good as well, so the model does sit evenly. Even the nose gear looks good, so that's very nice to see. Vertical stabilizer kind of looks like it's leaning to the right side of the aircraft, to the left side of your screen. Engine clearance is good. Wow, that's a first for this mold. They don't usually have good engine clearance. But oh my god, what is that cockpit window printing? So yeah, the cockpit windows, on top of being crunched, are slanted as well. I don't know how you go wrong on that, but that's been a recent issue for both Gemini and JC wings. And yeah, the airplane looks pretty mad at me that I'm talking so much trash about it, so I think I should cut the review short here. All jokes aside, of course, that is actually the end of my review. Now time for my personal opinion and recommendation. This model, even though it's a beautiful livery, I really like the livery, it's got questionable quality control, as per usual with Gemini jets. So do I recommend it? Yes, I barely recommend it, but of course, as per usual with Gemini models, proceed with caution because you never know what quality control issues you're going to get with your model. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching this extended review. Stay tuned for more model airplane content. I've got a bit more coming up, and that's all I've got for you. Like, comment, and subscribe. Hope to see you guys in my next video. Take care of yourselves. See you later.